Well, I really want to talk about why we should go to church. But first, I'll try and quickly tackle why we go to church on Sundays, or traditionally go to church on Sundays. Originally, Jewish people met on Saturday to worship God and rest, which was their Sabbath day. And it was written into the Mosaic Law, which is the law of Moses got from God on Mount Sinai, commonly referred to as the Ten Commandments. Early Christians then quickly adopted Sunday as the day of remembrance and worship because it was the day of the week that Jesus rose from the dead, and the day that the Holy Spirit came to the apostles. So going to church on Sundays now focuses more on setting apart time to worship and remember what God is, and continues to do in our world. Many people today realize that this no longer has to happen on Sunday and can be any day or time of the week, that we set aside to focus our lives back on what Jesus has done for us and what God continues to do in and through us. Let's talk about why it's important to go to church. Because it is. I said so. Well, actually the Bible teaches us about how important it is over and over again. When Jesus died on the cross, he tore down the barrier between God and man in the temple. That signified that we no longer need to worship God in a temple, and that God was now among us, living in us and around us in the Holy Spirit. Even though we don't need a temple anymore to worship, we still do need churches. The followers of Jesus who were still together after Jesus died said this in Acts 2, verses 42 through 47. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. This is what a church, the church, is called to be. I know that those churches today don't always do that. Churches have led people astray. They've pushed people away. They've loved money more than people. They've abused people and just haven't done a good job of doing what they were called to do. Heck, I'm positive our church has been guilty of most of those things. But churches have done some pretty amazing things too. I've seen forgiveness offered when most people wouldn't think possible. I've seen people lifted out of bad situations and supported through their toughest times. I've seen and heard of lives being given up for others. This is what a church is called to be and can be when we meet together, support one another, and encourage one another to continually follow after Jesus. We are never going to be perfect, but we will definitely be stronger together than we are alone. We hear the same message in Hebrews chapter 10, verses 20 through to 25. And it says, "Let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deed, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." So, go out and find a church that does this. No church will be perfect, because none of us are, but find a church that strives to follow Jesus, supports one another, and builds one another up to live as followers of Jesus in our hectic world. Why are you still here? Start Googling churches in your area. Go, find a church. Get out of here.